Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ. You're here on the home of the Slightly Above Average Ship Review. I'm in the midst of preparing for part of that big winter storm coming across the middle and lower part of the United States on the East Coast this week. And so I apologize for the late posting of the video, if we can ever get off the loading screen. We are in the Rhode Island, the most recent campaign ship. I think this is Mountain Range. Perhaps I will remember to take a look at the teams. We are doing a full secondary build. I broke out the wallet and bought a new commander. All right, it is Mountain Range. Look at that. I knew the name. Our team has a couple of Rhode Islands. The enemy team does not. There are 3 destroyers on each team. No aircraft carriers, which is kind of a disappointment because we have great AA in the Rhode Island. Maybe some of the best AA in the game. And we'll talk about why. But this is all about the secondaries today. You can see we've got enhanced secondary targeting 2, which is more powerful than enhanced secondary targeting 1. You can see it has that reddish, very angry ring around it, showing how mad it is, as opposed to the regular one, which is a green ring. It kind of looks like lima beans, which means it sucks, comparatively. All right, I'm really hoping this guy who wailed out on the campaign is actually going to do something other than hump an island. And maybe he's going to do something. He's certainly not spotting anything for me. But after I browbeat him enough, he's going to actually maybe start to do something. All right, quick note. The Rhode Island is one of the ships that Wargaming has made up. Basically, they took an existing ship and said, but what if the United States put these other guns and these other turrets on it? I mean, it may be like Florida turrets on a Iowa-class battleship or something like that. You know, they just take different parts and they put them in the blender, and then they say, oh, this is a concept of a ship that existed, maybe on paper. And sometimes it did, and other times there's no reasonable evidence anyone can find that it ever existed. And I firmly believe this is one of those ships they just made the fuck up. All right. And I didn't even bother looking because this isn't a real ship. All right. It's not. It is so far removed from the last battleships the United States made and the concepts of the battleships that they were going to make, that you and I can tell as logical people that this is totally made up. So instead of talking about the history of the Rhode Island, and actually, let me just, make it official. We're going to go to wargaming.net. And there are people screaming outside. Maybe because they found out it's not going to snow until much, much later in the day than we all hoped. I'm going to the wiki. I don't know what's happening on the screen. Does it really matter what's happening on the screen? No. Rhode Island, where is it? Amazing. All right. I'm searching. Here it is. On PC, it is a tier 10 ship. A battleship based on a 1938 fast battleship design variant. So it's based on a variant of a design, allegedly, featuring alternative armament configuration. The main battery consists of 12 356mm guns housed in quadruple gun turrets, initially planned for use in the North Carolina-class battleships in 1937. So they took North Carolina turrets and maybe put them on an island and called it a Rhode Island. Well, they beefed up the AA, that is for sure. All right, we shot at somebody, we did 18K damage, we set a fire, couple of red team, 3 red team ships are dead. I am trying to move over to get some shots at Gross or Kurfürst to actually do something of value in this match. Since we already have Bravo capped, There's a pretty good hit, disabled a turret. We've got some different stuff going on in the Rhode Island, so just be patient until we get into the port, and you can see what tomfoolery is up. While we continue to fight this battle, maybe now is a good time to talk about some interesting facts about Rhode Island. Did you know Johnny cakes are largely associated with Rhode Island? They're also known as journey cakes, hoe cakes, or Shawnee cakes, a traditional, often unleavened cornmeal flatbread with roots in Native American, colonial American, and Caribbean cuisine. They're essentially small, thick, pan-fried cakes enjoyed for breakfast or alongside savory meals. Under origins and history, the dish originated with indigenous people in North America, particularly the Narragansett. They forgot the word tribe there, but the Narragansett is an Indian tribe in Rhode Island. Narragansett is a city in Rhode Island, and they also had a beer, and they still do have a beer called Narragansett, which you can try if you have a hipster-oriented drinking establishment. Maybe they'll have a little Narragansett beer for you to drink. All right, looking at the battle, we've done 50k damage. Our attempts to kill an enemy ship have not been successful, but what has been successful, we did get a solo base cap. Here's a good look at our closer in shell grouping. Pretty nice. We're going to engage a heal here in a minute. You're going to see why it's so nice in the port. And this is not an accuracy build. It's not. But Wargaming made some changes in this update. If you haven't read patch notes or anything like that, we'll talk about how you can do this to your battleship. Give it an upgrade. If you've read the patch notes, then you already know what I'm talking about. You can see our secondaries are continuing to go off. We do have a secondary commander, and we're taking a bunch of damage because we're caught in between two battleships. That's okay. This battleship is going to give us something close to a broadside. We're going to aim above the armor belt and do some pretty good damage. And meanwhile, we're setting fires. We have over 100 pending secondary hit ribbons. So there we go. A Citadel hit, kill number 1, and we get an assisted kill on the other ship. Basically, I've just been trying to get in range to let these secondaries do the work, and we finally did it. I guess I can't tell you any other facts about Rhode Island other than Johnny Cakes. Here we are on the victory screen. You can see I have the new commander. She looks like a stripper. Azur Lane, Massachusetts. I think it's an Azur Lane. I don't even know. Massachusetts, that's all her name is. And the Rhode Island here. 131k damage. And as you can see, even though we did a ton of damage, there wasn't a lot of base XP to go around. So just 2134 base XP, no medals, 1 kill. Second on the board for the blue team. By the way, I've got some coffee syrup that I'm going to drink later. Autocrat coffee syrup. Maybe I'll put a link in the comments. All right, here in the port. Secondary battery mod 2. Damage control system mod 2. The new mod, if you're not aware, chromium plated barrels plus or minus 5% dispersion and artillery prodding room 2. So if you have a ship that has 3 mod slots, you can add chromium plated barrels to it. Taking a look at the loadout here for Rhode Island. Unlimited charges of the damage control party. 3 charges of the repair party. 4 charges of enhanced secondary targeting 2. And 2 charges of radar. I wouldn't bother with any other choice here. Engine boost, okay. Planes, largely worthless. Radar's your friend. The reason why I mentioned the Autocrat coffee syrup, my friends, is that is from Rhode Island. Use it in place of Hershey syrup in your milk. So instead of chocolate milk, you have coffee milk. I know it sounds weird, but anyway. All right, here in the specs. 87,500 hit points with our build, 32% torpedo damage reduction, 45% fire resistance. So a couple of those are improved. That main battery we were talking about, the North Carolina gun, 17.7 kilometer firing range, just a 22-second reload time, 36-second turn time, shell grouping value of 1.7. And as you can see, the dispersion is all slightly better, just a little bit. HE shells, 5,000 max damage, 31% fire chance. They pen 59 millimeters of armor. AP shells, just 9,500 max damage, which kind of sucks. They pen 774 millimeters at point blank range, 400 millimeters at max range. And the ricochet angle and the guaranteed ricochet angle, those are improved by about 5 degrees from what I normally see. So they gave the ship improved ricochet angles. 59 millimeter arming threshold for that main battery. All right, secondary armament, 10 twin 127s. Firing range greatly increased to 11.9 kilometers. Reload in 2.8 seconds. Shell grouping value of 1.2. And you'll see the dispersion is all greatly improved. Almost halved, not quite, but almost halved for most of these numbers. So that's the big thing in this build. All right, HE shells do 1,800 max damage, 5% fire chance. They pen 21 millimeters of armor. So let's talk about this AA. I'm going to show something wild. 76.2 millimeter guns, 16 by 2s. The average damage per second is 517, and they shoot out to 5 kilometers. So this is a rare case of where you are getting your best damaging AA shooting out to the farthest for your ship. So that's why I say I think this is some of the best AA in the game. I know that there are other ships that have a 100 AA rating value, and they're not putting that kind of damage at that kind of range out on the enemy airplanes. All right, 34 knots in the water, 890 meter turning circle, a very quick 12.1 rudder shift time. Concealment, 15.4 on the surface, 12.9 from the air, 14.1 when firing from smoke. You had to sacrifice somewhere in this build, and we sacrificed concealment for greater accuracy. All right, looking at our gameplay, we played 7 matches. We have won 6 of them. A main battery accuracy of 46%. Not a lot of luck getting kills. We're averaging 0.4 kills per match, almost 77k damage. The match you just watched was our best match in the Rhode Island. Taking a look at the armor viewer, there's some good things and some bad things. First of all, you've got this below water citadel, or at and below the waterline. Not very well armored from the top. Probably prone or vulnerable to damage from AP bombs. Let's put the bow back on. This isn't great. 27 millimeter bow for a legendary tier ship. Yikes. You're going to get smashed. Okay, that's just all there is to it. Torpedo side plating is at the bottom and the side plating up at the top. It will act as a sort of spaced armor. Here's your casemate. Your armor belt goes up to 310 millimeters. And that side plating, it's not a torpedo belt. It's just called side plating. It's going to go up the side there and protect that armor belt. Turrets on barbettes. Turret faces are sloped. Not heavily. They are sloped. And the barbettes are heavily armored down into the casemate. And then you'll see that super firing turret gets a little extra armor around the barbette, but not totally. So it is still vulnerable from the what you would call the cheek angle, I guess. But it does have extra armor around it. So that is the armor profile of the Rhode Island. Here is the new commander, Massachusetts. I used all my commander resources to boost her up. Base trait, Big Mamie. That's the nickname of the USS Massachusetts. Secondary battery shells that travel over 5 kilometers deal 9% extra damage so far. When I get her fully ranked up, it'll be 10%, which, I mean, that your mileage can vary on how effective that is. Haruna and von Hipper as our inspirations, because they're both all about secondaries. Row number 1, I went with not the one for nuisance. You don't need AA help. And Brawler, I don't like because it reduces your main battery range. Good day's work just kind of felt useless. So that was really my only choice. Row 2, I went with Porcupine. Burn It Down is here. Again, I just don't think that's as effective with a full secondary build as Porcupine is. Row number 3 went with Properly Meticulous, all into the secondaries. And row 4, the unique skill, 2,700 pounds of justice. Secondary battery reload time of -12 when it's fully maxed out. Main battery damage while enhanced secondary targeting is active will go up to 12% extra when this is fully maxed out. So that's a pretty cool skill. And our legendary skill is going to be Secondary Interests. Again, gives you an extra secondary charge. It'll give you 2 secondary charges when it's fully maxed up, and reduce the cooldown of those secondaries a little bit. So I think this is a commander definitely worth the 5K dubs. And I would use her in the Rhode Island and the Massachusetts, and maybe that's it. Anyway, hope you like the video. Like, comment, subscribe down below. Tell me what you think in the comments.